The whispers in the flame. The ancient stones of Castle Grayskull trembled with unnatural resonance as the sorceress descended the spiral staircase that had never existed before this night, each step materialized beneath her feet, carved from shadows and necessity, leading her deeper into the bowels of Eternia than any living soul had ventured. The falcon-crowned guardian of Grayskull had walked these halls for centuries, but tonight the castle whispered secrets in languages that predated creation itself. Her white robes rustled against stone walls that wept crystalline tears. Not moisture, but liquid time, each drop containing memories of futures that might never come to pass. The sorceress paused, her ethereal beauty unmarred by the weight of endless vigil, and pressed her palm against the weeping stone. "The flame cavern calls to you," the castle murmured through mortar and magic. "The drake stirs. The binding weakens. Show me," she whispered, and the wall dissolved like morning mist. Beyond lay a vast chasm that plunged into the planet's molten heart. Narrow bridges of blackened bone spanned impossible distances, and far below, rivers of lava carved their ancient paths through caverns that had witnessed the birth of dragons. But it was not the geography that made the sorceress's breath catch. It was the wrongness that permeated everything, a corruption that made reality itch. The air itself was thick with malevolence. Not merely the hostile heat one might expect from such depths, but something far more insidious. It whispered. Every molecule of superheated gas carried fragments of consciousness, tiny sparks of awareness that had once belonged to the drake's victims. They brushed against her skin like invisible moths, each touch a plea for salvation or revenge. "Guardian," came a voice from the darkness, melodious as breaking glass. "How long it has been since one of your kind graced my domain." The sorceress stepped onto the first bone bridge, her bare feet making no sound against the calcified surface. She could feel whose bones these had been, warriors, sorcerers, even other guardians who had attempted this descent centuries ago. Their essence hummed through the skeletal pathway, warning her, urging her to turn back. "Pyraxis," she spoke the name like an incantation, and the cavern shuddered in response. "Your imprisonment was meant to be eternal," laughter echoed from the depths. Not the roar one might expect from a dragon, but something far more disturbing, the sound of human joy twisted into alien frequencies. "Eternal, sweet guardian, nothing is eternal save change itself. The cosmos grows weary of its own patterns. Even the strongest bindings fray when reality itself begins to question." As if summoned by its words, the drake emerged from a pool of liquid fire that served as its lair. But this was no ordinary dragon. Where scales should have been, Pyraxis bore a hide of living flame that shifted between states of matter, solid, liquid, gas, and something else entirely, that had no name in any mortal tongue. Its eyes were not orbs but rather holes in space itself, windows into a void where stars went to die. Most unsettling of all was its size. Pyraxis was both immense and infinitesimal, its form refusing to obey the laws of perspective. One moment it towered above the cavern like a mountain given wings. The next it seemed small enough to cup in one's palm, though no less dangerous for its diminished stature. "You've changed since our last encounter," the sorceress observed, maintaining her composure even as every instinct screamed at her to flee. The magical energies that normally flowed through her like a gentle stream now raged like a storm-swollen river, responding to the wrongness that radiated from the creature. "As have you, beautiful guardian. Tell me, do you still dream of the day when your vigil ends, when someone else will take up the burden of watching over that ancient pile of stones you call home?" The question struck deeper than any physical blow could have. The sorceress had indeed dreamed of such things, in the quiet hours before dawn when even the castle slept. She pushed the thought aside. "I didn't come here to discuss my dreams, Pyraxis. I came because the barriers between dimensions are weakening, and something is helping them deteriorate. Something with your particular talents." The drake's laughter, this time, was pure madness given voice, guilty as charged, though not in the way you suspect. "I am not breaking the barriers, sweet guardian. I am being broken by them. Do you know what it's like to exist partially in 17 dimensions simultaneously? To feel your consciousness scattered across realities where the color blue tastes like Thursday and mathematics bleeds?" It moved closer, and the sorceress could see that its flame hide was not simply burning, it was consuming itself and regenerating in an endless cycle of destruction and rebirth. Each flame contained memories, experiences, fragments of identity that had been torn from other beings across the dimensional spectrum. "The barriers are thinning because reality itself is sick," Pyraxis continued, its voice now a chorus of the consumed. "And I am both symptom and cure, disease and medicine. Each soul I absorb grants me clarity for a brief moment before the madness returns tenfold. But oh, what clarity it is!" The creature's form shifted again. becoming more human-like, though no less terrible. Features that might once have been handsome in their alien way now bore the weight of cosmic insanity. When it spoke, the sorceress could see fires burning behind its teeth. Not ordinary flames, but the death fires of entire worlds. "You came here to destroy me," Pyraxis said, settling onto one of the bone bridges with surprising delicacy. "But you cannot destroy what is already destroying itself faster than any external force could manage. Each moment of my existence is both birth and death, creation and annihilation." "Then why do you persist?" the sorceress asked, genuinely curious despite the danger. Her training had taught her that understanding an enemy was often the key to defeating them. "Because I must. Because in my madness I have glimpsed something that even the elders of Grayskull never suspected. Reality isn't breaking down randomly, it's being edited. Someone or something is rewriting the fundamental laws that govern existence, and the dimensional barriers are simply rough drafts being discarded." The revelation struck the sorceress like a physical blow. If Pyraxis spoke truth, then every threat they had ever faced, every battle won or lost, might be nothing more than test scenarios in some cosmic revision process. "Who?" she whispered. "Ah, now you ask the right question." Pyraxis rose and began to pace, its flaming form leaving footprints of molten glass on the bone bridge. "I know because I've seen them in the spaces between thoughts, in the quantum foam where decisions become realities. They wear faces I almost recognize. Speak words that make sense until you try to remember them." The drake paused and fixed her with its void dark gaze. "But here's the beautiful, terrible truth. I don't think they know what they're doing. They're children playing with forces that make my power look like a candle's spark. And when they finish their game, everything we've ever known will be nothing more than a discarded draft in the cosmic wastebasket. Then we must stop them," the sorceress said, surprised by her own words. Was she actually considering an alliance with this creature of madness and flame? "Stop them," Pyraxis laughed again, but this time there was something almost sane in the sound. "My dear guardian, we can't even find them. They exist in the spaces between existence, in the gaps where logic fears to tread." But the drake moved closer, close enough that the sorceress could feel the heat radiating from its impossible form. Close enough to see that what she had taken for madness in its eyes might actually be a terrible cosmic clarity. "But perhaps we don't need to stop them. Perhaps we simply need to make ourselves indispensable to their revision process. After all, what is a story without its heroes and villains?" The sorceress considered this. In all her centuries of guarding Grayskull, she had never encountered a threat quite like this. Not because of its power, but because of its implications. If reality itself was being revised by beings beyond comprehension, then every action, every choice, every moment of existence became both meaningless and infinitely precious. "What do you propose?" she asked. "A merger," Pyraxis said simply. "Your stability, my chaos; your wisdom, my madness. Together we might create something so uniquely interesting that even cosmic editors would hesitate to delete us from their final draft." The proposal was insane, dangerous beyond measure. To merge with Pyraxis would mean accepting not just its power, but its fractured consciousness, its dimensional madness. Yet what choice did she have? If the drake spoke truth, then traditional solutions were worse than useless. "There would be conditions," she said carefully. "Name them. The innocent must be protected. No matter what form our merger takes, the people of Eternia, all people, everywhere, must not become victims of our combined essence." Pyraxis nodded slowly. "Agreed. I have consumed enough innocent souls to last several lifetimes. The guilt is counterproductive to clarity. And if we discover these cosmic editors, we negotiate before we act. No destruction without understanding, wise. Yes, I can accept that." The sorceress took a deep breath, knowing that her next words would either save reality or damn it beyond redemption. "Then let us become something new. Something that belongs in any version of existence they might create." She extended her hand, and Pyraxis reached out with appendages that were sometimes claws, sometimes human fingers, sometimes pure flame given form. When they touched, the flame cavern erupted in light that existed in colors beyond the visible spectrum. The merger was not painful, it was transformative beyond the capacity for pain. The sorceress felt her consciousness expand to encompass dimensions she had never imagined, while simultaneously feeling Pyraxis's chaotic essence being ordered and structured by her ancient wisdom. Together, they became something unprecedented. A being of ordered chaos, wise madness, controlled transformation. When the light faded, neither the sorceress nor Pyraxis remained. In their place stood something new, a figure that wore the sorceress's beauty like armor and Pyraxis's power like wings. It had her compassion and its understanding, her duty and its freedom from conventional morality. "We are," the new being spoke with voices that harmonized across octaves of possibility. "We are the editor's answer," it concluded, rising from the bone bridge on wings of crystallized flame. "Let the revision process continue. We will ensure that whatever reality emerges, it will have room for wonder, for choice, for the beautiful complexity that makes existence worth preserving." Above, Castle Grayskull trembled again, but this time with anticipation rather than fear. A new guardian had been born, one prepared for threats that transcended dimensions, powers that rewrote the rules of existence itself. In the depths of space, in the quantum foam between thoughts, beings of unimaginable power paused in their cosmic editing. Something had changed in the story they were revising. Something beautiful and terrible and absolutely necessary had emerged from their rough draft. They smiled, or performed the action that was the conceptual equivalent of smiling in their non-dimensional existence, and continued their work, knowing now that whatever reality they created would have the perfect guardian to protect its infinite possibilities. The flame cavern fell silent, but it was the silence of completion rather than ending. The game had changed, the players had evolved, and the story would continue, in whatever form the cosmic editors deemed worthy of their final draft.